Hi everyone, welcome to another Disney Infinity tutorial. This is my second clip in 1 week. We're on a roll. We may even get to 3. You never know, we could go crazy. So let's keep our fingers crossed we get the third clip out. We are edging closer and closer to the whole derailment, which I'm hoping is going to work. The theory's there, by the way. I actually haven't tested it, so it could be a big disappointment, but I'm working on it, so we should get it to work on this screen. Now what we're going to do now is just do a little bit of a recap of the gameplay and what we're trying to do, because we've been working on the last 2 clips on building this cable car. And what we've got here is we've got a button that we have to do to get up to the cable car, and it doesn't work. Now I've set these little buttons up to the side to help me cheat so we don't have to do the whole lot. But we've got a number of power bases, little power cells around the base, and we have to power up these generators so we can use the cable car. So there are different objectives throughout the game, so we have to collect these power cells, and I'm trying to make use of that on not just doing the train, so the whole level has a number of stages to it. So I'm looking at different objectives on where we are within the game. So you'll see here we have to power up these up, and you have to do 4 of these, by the way. So every time you chuck one of these power buttons on, you'll see you get 1 and it powers up, and when you have to do all 4. Now I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to do all 4. But we're going to go through, and this, like I mentioned, is going to be all the logic that we've done to finish off the cable car, and then to explain with the little troopers and other bits and pieces that I expect from this stage of the adventure. So you'll see we'll climb back up to the top. Right. And there's our power button. So the other generators are scattered throughout the base, and we have this button. So like I showed you earlier, you shoot that, and it tells you you haven't got enough power. So you've got to go and generate them all up. Now I have a little cheat here at the side. This button pretends that I've now powered them all up. So now when I hit this button, it says we did it, and then after 5 seconds this cable car will start to move, which you saw in my previous clip. Okay, so now we're going to expand this part of the adventure next, because what we're going to do is the Imperials don't like the fact that you pinch the cable car, so they're going to stop it. But what they have done is they've sent a little platoon down to try and stop you. Now I've played around with this in a number of different ways, and the troopers have the mind of their own. You'll see these in other people's clips. They tend to just jump out of the way. So you'll see here, as I start blasting the door, we have our troopers already waiting for our surprise. Okay, and they all disappear. Now it doesn't matter how I try and do this, what they tend to do is they all jump on top of the cable car at the very top. You can see the red dots. Right, they won't actually stay there. I tried to get around them, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave them there. So we're going to climb up, we're going to have to shoot them, otherwise they're going to knock us off the base, they're going to cause us some grief. So let's now climb up, so let's shoot this through. So we climb out the back. Climb up on the screen here. Now we're also going to set some wind options up, so there are going to be some quiet spots where you can climb on top of the car, but you're not going to be able to run all the way across the top because the wind will blow you off, so that's why you have to stay hanging down on the edge. Nearly fell off. So the troopers are all up here hidden at the top, so we'll get rid of these troopers. One's fallen to his death. Right, where's the other ones? Right, there they are. Right. No messing there. Another one gone, and we'll get last skill. Okay. Oh, come on. He's trapped. Oh, he's trying to run for it now, and he's out of it. Right, now, on the next clip that's going to follow this, we're going to show you this in more detail. The cable car has got a purpose. It's not just us getting there. I'm trying to make the most out of using this particular part of the tool. You'll see a little train down below. What we've got to do here is we've got to get something up to the top of the eagle's nest. It's not just yourself. Now obviously you have to do the climbing, so what we're going to do here is as you come up you're going to climb back up and you're going to set the cable car to carry on coming back up here. Right, so you're going to shoot that, which is going to send the cable car up. Now the reason for that is, and this is the part I'm going to expand on in my next clip, we need a pilot to fly the transporter. Okay, so we need to bring a pilot up, and that is why we need the cable car, and we need to grab the details across. Now the issue I had is that when we grab our pilot, which we're going to go and grab him and carry him up, we can't carry them up these poles. They doesn't allow me to do it. So I thought, well, okay, what we'll do is we'll do a little extended stairway here at the end of the platform that we can carry our pilot up, and like I did with the Yodas in the Mandalorian toy box, we can chuck it in the transporter and fly it up, so I don't have to press this button. Otherwise I thought it was a bit weak that you just press the button to fly the ship, because who the hell's flying the ship? It needed some sort of reason someone's got to be flying the ship. It can't just be anybody. So therefore, you've got to bring a pilot up to the base. That was my plan anyway. So the ship comes flying round, drops the hangar, and we go from there. Now, at the end of this clip, we will have done all the logic for the cable cars, the battle down the options, the power cells for the thing. So we'll have set all those up. And the next clip is going to be this transporter that we're going to show you how we get the platform to load down and how we get it to follow the transporter, the conveyex. Yep. So that's going to be the following clip, and then the clip after that we're going to show you how we're going to start doing the logic for derailing the train. So it's all coming quite nicely together. So this ship's now following through. It'll pause briefly. As soon as one of the carriages goes past the checkpoint, it'll start following it again, which is perfect. Right, so we will now jump down onto the track, which is done. Now, I'll tell you what the plan is, so you can give me your feedback if you think it's a good idea. Somehow, obviously, I've got to try and derail the train. So, my logic here was, how do we know we've done our part? Now we're on the train and we're going to get some troopers to attack us. What we're going to do? So what I thought we'd do is we'll have some collectibles, and those collectibles are going to be stored in between the two green carriages in the middle bit. So you have to get at an angle to shoot them, and you have to shoot each of the one under each carriage. That's my plan. So again, a slightly different action with the troopers on top to be annoying. Last thing you want to do is fall off as well. Okay, so, but you will, because the train is going around corners, you should be able to get the angle to shoot the collectibles. That's the plan. Still falling. These troopers are stupid, aren't they? Oh, there he goes. Fantastic. I love it. Okay, so then once we've got all the collectibles done, then the ship above is going to move out of the way, because obviously in the film we failed to collect a carriage, so we're going to have to jump off as the train blows up and derails, and that will be hopefully the end of our mission. So fingers crossed, that's where we're going with it. If you think you should do anything else with it, let me know, because there is time to adjust it, but I'm trying to work out what the stage is, what's the purpose of being on the train. Right, what we're going to do now is we'll show you how to build the logic, and we'll go from there. Alright? So following on where we left on, I've reloaded our level back up, and you'll notice my path tool has returned, which is quite good. And just to remind you, those path tools are set to a speed of 100. Okay. Now, using your creativity toys, these are the current objects you're going to need. You're going to need target buttons to start the cable cars. We need 2 of those, one from the bottom and one for the top. We need 2 logic gates. Okay, one to turn the path tools on for the cable cars to move, and one to turn the cable cars off. So you'll see those, I'll space those either side. I also need a time delay, and we'll go over that in a moment, because that's going to give us a certain amount of time before we switch the cable cars off. And I need another time delay to give me 5 seconds when I hit the button to get to the cable car before they start to move. Okay, and this little logic gate here is the one that triggers it all off. Now we can only put a signal to this logic gate if we've got the generators all working. So we're actually going to do, if we get all 4 generators working, we're actually going to close that gate. So when the input's blocked, it's going to set the chain event, otherwise it does nothing. Yeah. So what I'm going to need now is I need to let the user know whether it's working or not. So I'm going to use a speech text box, which is preset text. It's the only text tool that works. Okay, and that's going to give me the fact that you haven't done it or you have done it, and I need a counter to record all the power generators that they're working. Now when you're at the top, I'm going to need another time delay to trigger the lifts to come back down again, so I do need another time delay on here. So you'll see I'll just come back through on the screen. Now this logic gate you don't actually need. Yeah, I was doing it for the second journey. You can get rid of that, so ignore this particular one. As I played this back, I realised I didn't actually need this, so I'm actually going to delete that out. But you'll see I've put it in at the moment. You can put it there, but we do actually get rid of it, so don't worry about that. But you do need that second time delay, which will explain that in a moment. Okay, perfect. Right, so the question we've got here is, this is the logic gate that triggers it all off. Well, it's actually all triggered once we get our counter here. So depending how many generators you use, you've got to set that number up. So we're going to set that to 4 because I'm using 4 generators. If you've got 3, then obviously you set that number to 3. Yeah. Now what we're going to say is when that target is reached, I want us to close that gate. By closing it means, hey presto, you have actually got the electricity running, so we can do that. So what I can do now is say, right, okay, that's the case, new logic connection, on output. So not on output, you saw that there, nope, on input blocked, sorry. So on input blocked, can we start this delay? Now I'm going to change the property of this delay to be 5 seconds, because I think that will give me 5 seconds to get down into the cable car, which is done. So I can now say, new logic connection, when delay complete, can you input into this logic gate? So now I've got this logic gate connected, so we've got our 5 seconds we should be in. We can now actually say, right, new logic connection on output, can you start the cable car? The time delay so we get down there enough to get there on the screen. Okay, brilliant. Now on the other option there, we have to start the bottom one, but also want the top to come down as well. So new logic connection on output, we're going to do the same again all the way up to the top. And we're going to do the output option, so turn on. So on output, turn that on. So they both now start coming down. Now, like I mentioned, the other logic gate switches them off. So we're going to do a new logic connection here. So new logic connection on output, can we switch them off so we can do the same thing? Now, in my last clip, I showed you that if you, at this angle of the path that we're doing for the cable cars, when you added a middle point, it actually jumped off the line. So when you actually reload it back up, it wouldn't actually work. So we're going to have to use a timer to work out when they are halfway. Now, if we've got this right and you've built the exact same type of cable car, we use 16 long sloping pieces. And with the cable car traveling at 100, we know that cable car will be turned off, will reach halfway in roughly about 13 seconds. So what we've got here is we've got this little logic gate here, we get the 4 number here, that closes the gate. When we press the button and it's blocked, we set this timer off. That gives us 5 seconds to get to the cable car, and that now turns on the car from there. Now what we're going to do here is new logic connection. When delay is complete, we know we set the timer off. Can we set this timer off? And we're going to set this timer to 13 seconds. All right, and that 13 seconds will get both cable cars side by side. Yep. Using that you speed the 100 and it's at that particular angle. So we're going to say, right, cable car, do that. Now, new logic connection, when that is reached, can we switch these off? So you turn it off and that will stop the cable cars halfway. And that's as long as we use that timer. Yeah, so in this case, we're going to do a button, new logic connection, when hit, can we input into that gate? Now obviously when you start, all logic gates when you open them up are always opened. So in this case, new logic connection on output, yeah, because they're always output, yeah, we're going to put a message say sorry, it didn't work. So output message, sorry, we'll do a loss option here and say it didn't work. It's no good, yeah, it's no good, right? When we get our 4 options and it's blocked with a new logic connection, when input blocked this time, yeah, because we've closed it because we've got our generators, we can say that did it, and that triggers it off. I hope this is all. Let me know you follow this and this seems all okay. There's a lot to show you with the logic, okay, but it's not too complicated. Again, guess what? It's all down to spacing it out. So when we press the button down here, it will always stop halfway up. Now the other power button just wants to generate the lift. So what we'll do here is new logic connection. When hit, we use the second timer. Okay, that again is going to be set to 5 seconds. So we're going to change the property of that to 5 seconds, and we're going to link that to the one. So properties, and can we do that to 5? Yeah. So it gives you 5 seconds again. New logic connection. When delay complete, can we input them and can we turn the gates back on? Right, input into there, which will send the on switch and we'll get them to carry on moving. So we can grab that and we can now move that all the way up to the very top, which is great, but we're going to probably need another one of these buttons a bit later on for a tester, just so we can test it down here so I can get them to stop and start. So we might actually use another one of these buttons. We may keep one of these just around. You'll see me come one of these back in a moment just for test purposes. That logic gate, like I said, you don't need. You can bin it, it can go. So I'm going to get rid of that one, hopefully. It wasn't needed at all because I connected it straight to that timer. So, yep, it can go. Whew, thank God for that. Right. That should start and stop our little gates. So obviously you save it. Make sure you got the whole thing saved. Alright. I'm just going to do a little test button here. Okay, these little buttons here are going to act if I've got the generator working. So I'm going to say on pressed, can we close that gate? So I'm just setting some logic in to test it. And just by the way, while you're doing your testing, do not have the train running, because if you do, it'll totally mess it up. Yeah, when you do the train, you'll save it first, test the train, then don't do it. So you'll notice there's no train running at the moment. You only want to do that at the end. Right. So that theoretically, you're going to shoot that. Doesn't work. That's no good. Message is a bit crap. I like the big banner text when we do that, so we're going to have to change that to the banner. So hold on, let's go back to the message box. Let's go to properties, and let's make that. I like 2 seconds, but I like the banner setting. Nice big large text. I think it looks quite good. Cool. That works a lot better. Okay, so we shoot that now. That should be larger text on screen. Yeah, that's no good. Right. Which works quite nicely. So what we can do now is, one thing I need to do before we get the whole to actually test it, this is a good point, we need to say when we reach to a point on the object, because otherwise it won't stop. So that's one thing I forgot to do. Yeah, so we're going to do when point reach, it's somewhere, because this is a starting point, I can never find. When point reaches on path, yeah, I want to turn the thing off. So when the cable gets to the bottom, I want you to turn it off. I also have to do it on the other side. So if we scroll up all the way up to the other end, you can set them off. Now you notice I only have to do this on one side. I don't have to do it on both sides, because when one cable car stops, then they both stop. Yeah, but you do need to do this on both sides. You need to do it on the other side of the screen. That logic pretends we've got it, and the cable now starts moving. As you'll see, the cables come down. After 13 seconds, they should stop and should be pretty much bang on in the middle. And there you go. And then we've got to do is just rerun that again, and that will get them going off on the side of the screen. The only problem is I don't have a button here to do it, which was the classic. So where we'll grab another one of these little target buttons, which I told you did need another one. Okay, and that is like pressing the button at the top. So new logic connection, when we hit that, can you do the second timer, which is, or just turn the thing on. Yeah, we're going to delete that button off, so it's not a problem. Just to test it. So that should keep it going. Now what you'll notice here is we only did the path on the first one when we reached the top, so you'll notice it gets to the bottom here and it automatically starts pinging all the way back up, and I need it to stop there. So what I need to do is, on the same cable car as the first one, I need to put a tool at the top there, right at the very top, that when it gets to the bottom I need it to turn off. But you don't have to do it for both cable cars, because when one stops, they both stop. And the reason we want that cable car to stop at the top there is so I can get the pilot out to go and fly the ship. If it came back down again, I'm going to miss it. Okay, so we need to make sure we go to the back of the top. So I'm hopefully going to do that next. So remember doing that? Here we go. Yep. So go all the way up to the top. Now this one's a little bit easier. When point reached on path, and I go back, input that back in. That will now get us that little stop and start section. So we can input into there. Brilliant. That will turn that off. So I now know I'll go back and forth. Now if I shoot this one again, it won't stop this time, it will just go up. So this will now just go straight up. Because I've done it this power button and not through the other method, there's no timer applied. So again, it bypasses that, so that's what the top button will do. So these will just now carry on going, there's no 13 seconds. And then when it gets to the top, that will now stop. Looking good. See, perfect. Hit it again, it'll all come back down. Can you tell I quite like this? And if you saw my earlier clip, you see my actually first one, those cable cars are 1,000 times better than the other one. A lot more difficult to set up, but they actually now look, with the arm and the bracket coming down, they now look like cable cars. The other one was just a box, it looked a bit crummy. So I'm quite pleased the way they turned out. Right, so we've set that up and we've got it timing out perfectly, and we've got the pulls, so that's all going good. Now the next bit we're going to work on is the actual power generators. You'll notice I deleted that button. I wouldn't do that. I'd keep it on for further testing. You'll notice it suddenly reappeared back in. It was not worth doing. Right, so go to your gameplay toys and we're looking for some pressure pads. Okay, so we're going to find these, and this is really easy, very limited logic, because we now have got all the key bit done. So let's find a little pressure pad. Where is it? Not the stone one. I wanted the yes it. Okay, we need 4 of these to go next to each of the generators. So click on all 4. Now, in before you see me jump through, but as there's only 4, I'm going to show you me doing each one of these anyway. I don't know why I did it there, but it's just chucking 4. So what we're going to do on here is we're going to say, right, new logic connection. When activated, so when we stand on it, can we increase that counter by 1? Which is brilliant, right? So that goes up to 1, perfect. So new logic connection. When activated, can we increase that by 1? Yeah. Perfect. New logic connection. When activated, can we increase this by 1? So that does it on the screen. Now, theoretically, you could go and stand on them all, and that'll do you get your target of 4, and you're done. But what we then think is, well, what if you run off it? Okay. So what we're going to do now is, now we've got them all activated when you turn off. When they deactivate, so when you come off it, what we're going to do the opposite now is we're going to say, when you come off that, can you actually decrease it? So new logic connection on deactivate when you come off, can you take that off by 1? Yeah, so it goes, so you don't get, so you get 1, you walk off, it drops back down, so you don't get the 4 option. So deactivate it, decrease it by 1. Right, because like I say, you get 4's the magic number in this case. All depends how many generators you use. So if you've only got 3 generators, you only have to do it 3, and you only have to set your target to 3. If you've only got 1 generator, it's just the 1. But you still need your increase and your decrease option appearing. Otherwise, the player can cheat. Okay, so that's all set up on there, brilliant. Now we're going to take each one of these power supplies and we're going to take them to our generators that we've got scattered on the top of our mouth that we did earlier. Now I'm positioning these power cells things, so theoretically when you're on one of them you cannot see any other one. So you'll see I'm trying to get the angle right so you can't see any other options. So what we do here is same thing, is when you activate it, can you power on the generator, and when you deactivate it, can you deactivate the power generator. So on deactivation, can you turn the generator off? Yeah, so that gets that little blue light to flicker on or on, which I think is quite cool. Alright, grab the next one. And obviously while you're doing this and you've done your logic and you've done your different stages, you obviously save in between. So I've put it in this position, so when I'm at this gate I can't see any other options, so that you can't see it from that angle. I wanted to keep it on the screen. So both options are set. New logic connection on activated, turn the generator on. That's it, new logic connection. When deactivated, turn the generator off. So very simple little logic, and again, as long as you've laid it out nicely, you can follow it and you can remember what you've done. I find, by the way, this is the cool tip. You write down. You don't have to write it down step by step, but just phrases that you know. Yeah, just make a few little notes. Right, I can't put that so I can see the other gate. Just put little notes. Right, I need to put the power generator on. I need to increase the counter. Just little things that you use. I use little abbreviation symbols to do it, so I know what I'm doing. But I sketch it, write it down, because to follow it all sometimes can be too much, and you get totally confused or lost what you're doing. So what do I need to switch on? And I try and write it down. Allows you to plot things down and keep a track of what you're doing. They say if you make lists, you tend to get things sorted and done. So definitely make little notes, little sketches. My notes, by the way, no one else could be able to read. It looks like a doctor's note, some sort of scribble, but all little arrows pointing different ways. Because a number of times when I start building this, I'll get distracted with a phone call, and then I go, what am I doing? Have I switched it on? Have I haven't switched it off? So it's like getting a little checklist here. I've done that one, I've done that. Because when you build a level, it sometimes can be overwhelming, all different things you've got to do, but you don't. You want to make it into small little bite-sized little sections. And if you notice this adventure here, we have just the one area which is the base, one's the cable car. We look at them in little parts. We're not thinking of the whole thing in one side, so it doesn't seem too chaotic. when you look back at the end, it's mammoth. You go, flipping heck, how do I get there? And it's quite easy to build something quite big, but you just always picture it in little pocket, little things on the screen. Right, I'm just moving these to one side, so we've got those things are set up, which is quite cool. Right, and these little things, these little batteries here, you'll see here I scattered these around the base so you can see them. I put one up here on the top, and obviously I needed one inside the base because I need that one, and I wanted to make sure the player came down and into this little section. So I put 4 around to power each of those little units up. Now this next section I might actually remove from the final gameplay. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a platform that's going to go across the 2 carriages. And we're going to use a path tool, and we're going to hide the platform out of the way, and we're going to call this in when they get to the halfway point. Now the reason for that is it's very tricky to jump across, and I'll explain that in a bit more detail. So I've done it so that people of low abilities like myself can get across. I was also hoping that it would keep the troopers there, but it didn't really work, so I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. But what you'll see is I'm just going to create a path. Now I do 2, you don't, you only need the 1, so you can ignore the second one, but there has to be 3 stages to it, because the object is just going to loop through here on a continual cycle. I couldn't get my head around how I was going to do this, but you just need this particular path, and we'll get a basic shape and a flat panel. Now this will bridge the 2 so it makes jumping across a lot more smoother, but like I said, I was hoping that the troopers would stay clear. It doesn't matter what I try, they always jump onto the top, so this platform could really go. So it's why I might remove it. But like I said, this platform is going to slide up, and what it's going to do, it's going to fit in between the 2 carriages like so. Yeah, so you can walk across it. And I thought 3 would be, this large one's quite good. And I was hoping that the troopers would run across here on the screen. So I'm just going to put this piece down here at the moment. There's a couple little things I forget to do as well, so I'm going to point those out to you all. So we'll change the colour of this little box, make it match the same colour as the rest of it, which is the Tatooine thing, is it? Which one was the planet? One of those tin colours. Dun, dun, dun. It's that. There you go. Yeah, Tatooine brown metal tile. So we're going to set it to that. Now what this panel is going to just keep looping on this path. Now when it reaches that middle point, if we've got a certain location switched on, it's going to jump from that path to where the cable cars are. So it's going to connect to this and just going to keep looping through here. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch this path off to start with, yeah, right. But when I finish with it, I need to switch it back on so the path is always moving, yeah, because we don't ever need to really switch that item off. Okay, so it should always stay on, but it stays off at the moment while we play around with this particular setting. And that middle piece is going to be central, right? Once it gets to that middle piece, it's going to check, has the cable car arrived yet? If it has, it's then going to jump from this middle point, and it's going to go back to the cable car and line up in between the 2 at the top of the screen. So I need some sort of trigger to let us know that that's the case. So we're going to bring in a logic gate now, and you'll find my little weird editing here. So apologies for here because I really got to really mess this up a little bit. But if we get a bog standard logic gate, and we're going to stick that next to the 13-second timer, because when this 30-second timer is gone, we know the cable cars have stopped. So I just need a bog standard logic gate. Now, like I mentioned, logic gates are open when you put them into the game. So what we're going to do is when the time goes, it's going to close that gate, so that when it reaches that point, it will then trigger the item here. So I'm going to put this little logic gate by the side of that timer. Okay, and I'm going to say, right, on complete. Yeah, when that delay is complete, can we close that gate? Right, and that now is going to know that that item is done, so we're going to close that there on the screen. Perfect. And you didn't notice my little bit of editing there. I did that quite smoothly. So what we're going to do now is we need to make sure we're exactly halfway point, and we know it's 16 squares, so it's 8 squares up. So I'm just going to get some basic toys again, go to my simple basic blocks. Okay, and I'm going to move this, and I'm going to count up my 8 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's right on the line of the 8 one, so right there in between the 2. So you'll see I'm going to line this up, and I know it's going to be level with the cable car, so I've measured this up. So I'm going to go 1, 2, I think 3 of these blocks. So 1, 2. So it's from level that ridge. So it is 3 theoretically. Do I do one more? I think I do one more to line up with the path. That's perfect. Now I need 3 another little mini path again, but going in 3 stages just like the one I've shown you. So we got a little logic here. Get the path tool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to leave this path on, and only when it reaches to a checkpoint will it turn the path off. So the default setting for this is on, but it does get switched off when it reaches along a certain point. So when that tile jumps to this path tool, so we're just going to move it, so I've given it enough little space between the two. So put that there, one in the middle, and another one on the end. Right, so what we're going to do there now, so once that's on there, we're going to say when it reaches that middle path, can we turn off the tool? This is the only time we turn off this path. Otherwise we leave it stand on. And by the way, I just left the speed at 100 as well. So new logic connection. When point reaches on path, can we switch this path off? That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to get rid of the blocks. Now just be aware, my final version, I might actually delete this section out. So you see how it goes, but if you're not clever on jumping or stuff, you may want to keep this in, but I'm showing it all anyway, and then you can decide what you want to do. Okay, so that's cool. So that now goes across there. When it reaches that point, it's going to turn its item off. So what we can do here is we go back to our little path down here, and what we say is, right, okay, so when we get to when our path is just constantly looping round, because it just loops back and forth, so it gets to the end, it will automatically, because of the type of the path, I don't need to direct it back, because of the type of the path, it will loop back again. So when it gets to that middle point, I can say, right, on that point, can we go and check that logic gate? So on there, do new logic connection. So when point reaches on path, can we go to the new logic gate that we've added by our timer? Now if that is closed, so can we input into that logic gate? Which it says input. Right, now if that gate is now closed, so we can do new logic connection, new logic connection, if the input is blocked, we know it's closed. And that's the case, can we take the triggering actor and can we connect it to this path? And can we connect trigger and actor to that path, which will now jump the tile and it will now appeal perfectly on the option. When it reaches that middle square, it will switch it off and it will stop. Now when we switch that path back on, we need to move the tile out of the way. So we do new logic connection. When we get to the end of here, can we now send it back? So new logic point on path. We send this all the way back, and can we connect it to that object? Dun, dun, dun. Now one thing I haven't shown you, and I've realized when I've gone back and reviewed this, I've missed this off. When we turn the cable cars on, yeah, when you switch them on, you must switch on these paths. Yeah, so I want you to switch this one off and the one at the top. I don't actually show you doing that. So you must need to do that. So I can link that to the path above. So new logic connection, connect that to that path. So we'll connect that up. Yeah. We don't need the other one. I put that by accident. That can go. So that now is linked on. But we should basically leave that path turned on so it's constantly leaping through. Okay. So let's go and finish these little bits off. So what we do here is, on this case, is when we send the signal into here, so new logic connection, on output, right, what we need to do is when we've done that, whenever we turn it on, I want you to open that gate. But what you must also do, which I've missed off, I must, on that output, I must go to the other two paths, the one in the middle and the other one, and to turn it on. So that's what you must do, and I forgot to show you that. I cut that out. So apologies for that, but it's either wait another week for me to do it perfectly or stick with this. So we're going to stick with this level. Right, and then what I thought I'd show you, which I haven't done, right, is that I realised that I need to put the platform down. So I've gone to the platforming tools and I've got these flat little square tools. Where are they? Where are they? I've got missed them on the screen. And I realised that you can't fall from the top because they fit level. You can't, so I need it to overlap in. So I go across these particular platforms if I can find them now. Yep. So I grab these ones here, and I thought, great, I can stick these around the side. That's perfect. Because I don't have a cable car here, I could do this side no problem at all. But I can't do the other one. It's like the other cable car's now in the way. It says sorry because I've reloaded it up. I can't do that. It's like, oh man. But I don't need a little part, I only need to drop down on it. So all I've got to do is stick it out the other side a bit. So you'll see here, I realised, well actually what I can do is if I do bring it to the front, I can fall down onto that lip just from the top. Because that middle path is in line directly with the cable car. So I was trying around with it and I realised, hold on, it only needs to be stuck out a little bit from here. So I got carried away. like I do, and actually went, well, hold on, let's just move it back a little bit. Yeah, it took a while for my brain to work out. This is why I don't do a live clip, because it takes a while for my brain to actually go, oh, that's what I want to do. And I've got a little panel here that I can fit on the edge, and that now fits nicely in there. Right, so the bit I missed out was that logic gate to make sure we turn that path on. So we'll do a little test run and check that works, and we should hopefully see the cable car move back and forth quite nicely. So let's give a quick look and check that is all working. So I kept those buttons on here, so I'm going to press this button here, which is going to fire them up. Okay, so no good. Right, so instead of doing it up my little pre-buttons, which we'll delete later, that will give the impression that we've closed the gate. So now when I hit it, the cable cars go running. Okay, the timer is now counting to 13. Now for second there, remember there's a 5-second delay before the cable car goes. It wasn't me being a numpty. I had almost forgot then. Right, the cables come up. After 13 seconds that will stop. We now need to switch on the other path, which now fits into that block of the screen. So we now have the panel between the two. Okay, so then when we carry it going, and you'll notice I needed this button to continue the test, that switches the things back on and all the paths back on. So after the count of 5, those objects will start moving again, and when they do, the tile disappears back and is stuck in the loop going through out the way. Now, like I said, I might even take that flipping thing out completely out altogether. Tempted to do that, right? That's my gut feeling at the moment. I'm going to probably take that out. It's a lot of trickery just for that, but I'm showing you anyway, so you can make that choice whether you want to put it in your one or not. Now, you'll notice, by the way, I'm also setting the carriages back because I want them in the starting position when I press the save button. So making sure everything comes back, and you'll notice here, because there is no counter, it doesn't fire the gate, so it's all working quite nicely. Right, I think the last section we're going to do now, we'll do a bit of wind, so we can't blow off the screen, because I've now changed my mind and we're now putting that back in, and we'll do the enemy pads as well. But first, what we are going to do is the enemy inside the cable car. So I need a little enemy wave generator, and that needs to be by the side of this pad, because it only happens when the carriage pauses, by the way. I don't want it every time it goes up and down for it to work. And we need a locator as well. That is also important. So we need one of these. And again, because of the spacing of how I've laid out the logic, you can insert the sections to see where those stages. Now I'm going to twist the locator so they're actually pointing and facing the right direction. So you see, we twist that around so it will actually face you when you shoot your way through the carriage. We're going to link that to location. That's all perfect. Okay. And what we're also going to do with this one, we're going to configure the wave. So what do you want the wave to be? So we're going to add in some troops, and I picked just 3. Now obviously we're going to have to use the snow trooper as well, and probably an ATAT, because we've got ATATs down here as well. I was about to use a sand trooper, that would have been a numpty thing to do. Got out. What a mixture of everything there. Perfect. We'll have 4. Okay, that'll do. That'll work quite nicely. Okay, so that's that done. Now we can do you want them to all spawn at the same time? Do you want to delay? Because you'll notice there's a 4-second delay for this. So I'm going to hopefully be quite quickly going through. So I'm not going to do, you may want to make it 2 seconds or so, I'll reduce that slightly. Don't want any special effects, I don't want anything going across on the screen, so I'm happy with that. Right, so when that time goes in, the thing has stopped. So this time delay will not only close the gate, get the platform to appear, when that time is complete, we want it to generate the wave. So it generates the wave will generate, but the wave is pointed to that locator, so wherever that locator is. So what we're going to do now is going to link that locator to the path upstairs. So new path locator connection, and we go to the path connection, and we go all the way up to the very top, dun, dun, dun. And we're going to go into here, and we're going to paste that into there. We're going to link it onto their new path set. So now the locator's now in the middle, and they will appear encapsulated in that little cabin, which we have to shoot through, and surprise, surprise, we'll have a little mini battle. See, so it's quite easy to add little elements to it, and you just pick the sections that you require. Yeah, and again, spacing out the code makes that section easy. Right, So that's that bit done. The next bit we're going to look at now, what we're doing next. If I can remember. Dun, dun, dun. Oh yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do the the Papa H fall. This is what we're going to do. This is going to be the killing part. Oh. So sorry, I've chucked this inside the clip, but you'll have to see how this is done. This is how we get to scream off a clip. I don't think Papa H has even shown us this clip, but this is his little magic. Very simple little cool effect. When you go into that box, we're going to die. So new logic connection. When you enter that, and it can be anyone enters that, what we're going to do with there is we're going to have a scream effect. Yeah. So if anyone's follow, I'd like you to scream. So new logic connection. We go down to, I think it is, where is it? It's vocal. I think it's vocal. And then there's a scream somewhere down here. You could be funny and have them laughing to their death. Classic scream, there you go, it's classic scream, that's the one. So when you go into that box, you get a classic scream. Okay, well when you leave the box, you will die. So new logic connection. On exit, what we do is we connect to this little thing here, and we go to defeat. So that will now kill you on the screen. We'll just do a quick little test. So we come out of here. So if she now walks into that area, we get the scream, but as I fall through, I die. So again, as you walk in, and we die. Yeah, and the reason for that is that's the area we're going to put all below the screen. Well, applying a little charge there by accident. So what we need to do is now need to move that trigger area and position that so it covers the underneath area of our track. So what we're going to do is going to grab this, move that across. Now is where we position it. Where do we want it to go? How far do you want it to go on the screen? Because it needs to be low enough so we can have a little bit of a track. So you see I've just dropped it low enough underneath the track. I make sure I'm far enough across, but hopefully enough so I can fall a little bit of a distance and still die. So I think that's good. That's at least over halfway. I know we're past halfway now. Okay, great. And now all you got to do now is you're going to stretch that. Now on some people on low end consoles, you may want to leave this and stretch this out at the very end. Sometimes having a massive trigger area can sometimes cause your little console to have a meltdown. So you may want to leave stretching that to the very end, but we'll stretch that out. So I'm going to just keep it the same height all the way across. And again, I'm making sure I go wide enough on the actual train track on the other side. So it goes that wide. Yep, so it's covered the gap there. And I grab the other corner, which is the other top one, and I'm going to do exactly the same and stretch that all the way across. And that is how you do the Papa H fall. Now I'm not too sure if Papa H uses two trigger areas, one to fall into and when you go into the next one the other one to die, because I think he spaced it on three pillars, but I just used the one. I'll let him confirm what he used or what he didn't use, but obviously you need to stretch this out and make sure you go out wide enough so that they obviously, if they jump off the train, they're going to fall. We want them all to die, and it's got to come out far enough along the back side so we've covered all that over the tracks. That covers the cable car, that covers the train track, and any troops that fall off will get that lovely scream. So there's a lot of little things we've done in this clip. We've still got a couple more things to show you before it's out, and that is our thing all set up. Cool. Right, so what we're going to look at next is how to get blown off the cable car. So what we're going to do here is similar thing again. Going to use another trigger area. Okay, quite straightforward. Yep. And we're going to use a little wind tool as well. So let's get our little tool up, and I think it's in the gameplay tools. Okay, I'm sure it's in here. Oh, is it the other one? I might be wrong. Nope, it is this one. Okay, the weather vane. The weather vane is where it's you see the pointed to. It goes to like a little pointed. You've got the fat end one end and the pointed. That's the direction that the wind is going to blow. Okay, and that currently is set off. So we're going to change the properties to have it relatively strong, so you can increase the strength of it so you can't hold up. And we're going to say it's not everything. It's only going to be the players that will blow off. So any enemies will not get blown off because they're used to this area. We're new to it. So we're going to make this quite strong that it will knock us off the screen. So I'm going to get this quite high up here. I think we set this to 50 roughly. Yep. Now all we're going to do is that when we go into that trigger area, we're going to turn the wind on. So new logic connection, when a player enters it, any player enters, yeah, has to be a player specifically because we don't want troopers to trigger it off. We're going to set the wind off. Yeah, can we turn that on, which will now blow across the screen that side. When we exit the trigger area, so new logic connection, when we exit out, it's going to turn the wind off. So that is already a self-contained little section. So when a player, any player exit, can we deactivate that box? Okay, and that's straightforward in a lot, and we can do a quick test to see if it works. So as we walk into the box, the wind comes in, so you see it's there. So I walk in, the wind comes in and blows me, whew, and as I come out, it switches it off. If I try and go back in it again, I get pushed back. And there's my little wind tool. Now the wind tool can be anywhere, by the way. You don't actually need it set up anywhere on the script time, so you can hide out of the way. Oh, and there's one thing I haven't shown you, by the way, and I think I missed that, is the speaker for the sound effect. You need to turn off the 3D effect for the speaker, the setting on the property for the screen. Otherwise the sound will only come local to where that speaker is, and we want it to be heard generally, so you need to turn the 3D sound off. Now you'll see here I'm making sure I'm doing it before we get to the cable car, and I'm blowing us off so we don't die. So I'm just checking, if we do here we'll fall and die, so I'm just going to do a little bit beforehand, so if we fall off we have to come back round and climb back out. And we could use another one of these later down the line to hold this up, so we're just going to set this up here. And then I'm just going to make this a little bit tall enough up here, so we'll switch these on. So you can't jump through it or jump over it. As soon as you go in there you'll get blown off, but you won't die, you'll still survive, so you'll be able to walk back round. That just stops the player going through there, just a little section on its own. Nice and easy, very compact. Two little objects you work together quite nicely. I panicked if you could use a large jumping box then, so I made it larger. There you go. Right, what's the next thing we'll do next? Right. I think what we're going to do now is the enemy generator. Now I've just used one on here, so what we're going to do is we're going to place this in the center of each of these. I'm going to do this twice, by the way. I'm going to show you one, you can do the other one. Okay, so I'm not going to record both. We need a trigger area to know when we start that off, and I do need a logic gate, because if I don't use a logic gate, they will keep constantly regenerating. It's a one-off job. So what we're going to do here is when we enter that trigger area, we're going to set off that base. So we're going to do a new logic connection. When a player enters it, any player, yeah, we are going to input into this logic gate. Right. So what we do here is new logic gate on output. Can we generate the wave? So activate that box. So it turns that on. Yep. Now what we can then do is to say, okay, so what else do we need? So we use another logic gate or a timer, because it gives it a few seconds. Yeah. Give it a few seconds and turn it off. So in here we do new logic connection on output. Let's use a time delayer, which is going to be 1 second. So after a second, what I like you to do then is new logic connection. Can we close this gate? So new logic on delay complete. Can we close the gate? Which means if I go into that trigger again, it will not restart the job. Now even if you choose activate, if the little respawn base is destroyed, it will restart it again, so you do need to switch that off. So we need to go to configure wave and then add your enemies. So I do easier enemies on the lower and I use a bit more harder enemies on the top, the bigger the battle that we do. And I do this twice, so that's one little unit, and I do again for the top one. But before I did the one on the top, I moved all the logic out the way and positioned those in a particular easy fashion. So pick the enemies you want. Start with some nice easy ones to get through, just to get into the action of things. Get this all out of the way, and you can choose the delay. How long do you want? So do 2 seconds. Now, just even when you kill all 6, they will carry on respawning. It just keeps looping back through and carries on going through that pool, which is quite handy. So you won't just get the 1, 2. That's it. Once they're dead, they come back again. You kill them. They just keep it so until that base is open. So it's quite a handy little thing. And I think I switched off the effect. I didn't want any weird effect appearing. They just suddenly appear every 2 seconds, which is quite good. Right, so then I need to move those logic sections out of the way. So I'll pull those to one side. So move those to one side. Now I've designed it that you have to go in the base, right? So you have to go in here. So I want to make sure you cannot avoid those trigger areas. Yeah. but it's quite a quick and easy way to have the enemy carry on respawning without me having to keep doing it again and again. It does it automatically. So I'm going to fill this out here because we're going to have to go across on the base. So I'm going to stretch that out so it fills the whole platform, and just a little bit farther as well, so you, even if you climb outside the rope, you'll set that off. Now what I should do is bring it right back to cover the whole platform, not just there, which I think I have. There you go, it fits a bit better. Probably a little bit more so I can't get around it. And I'll repeat the same thing again, but obviously the ones at the top I can't do at the moment because I've got all this logic here on the screen. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm happy with all that, that's all done. I'm going to keep it in the same format and move those underneath the map. So I'm going to try and keep them in the same layout so I can see them. I've kept those buttons to the left, but I end up deleting those buttons off. So I'm going to grab that, pick them up, and then move them down the side. Now I will re-show you that property setting with the speaker, purely on the fact when I do my next clip, when I get the sound effects. I've got a good sound effect with the wind hailing. I've got it fading with 2 boxes, so I'll show you that, and I'll remind you about this scream setting to get that 3D audio speaker done. Now obviously when you were doing these sections you keep saving. I like to remind you all just that when it does crash and you'll have me going, I told you so, so keep saving as you go across. Sometimes jumping back and forth moving objects, it doesn't like doing that, so I tend to say that before I do that particular setting. And we're almost done here now. I just speeded that up, so all these have been nicely moved out of the way. I'll grab these little ones as well. And like I said, I've done the same for the top as well, and I'm just going to show you myself moving those little areas out. So this is the other gate. I've moved these to one side, they've got the 2, so you'll see I've got 2 sets of these, because I've already done one for the top of the base now. I'll put that up at the top there. So, okay, so we finally got, instead of a building, we've got quite a lot of logic in here, and they're all little mini pocket little things. So we've got the enemy base, we've got the lift, we've got the wind, we've got the screen, we've got all the various number of things here. So pick out and mix the stuff that you want out there. Let me know if you think this clip's any good. I'll get cracking with the next clip anyway. It's already laid out. I've just got a few little adjustments to do with that, and I'm hopefully going to have that by the weekend. But we can now see our venture slightly coming together, which is really good. So this is the last bit I'm doing. You see I've kept those buttons in there. I kept that purely for test purposes. Those buttons in the corner need to be removed off when we're finished. You might want to leave them in there until the very end so you can do your little test runs. Right, but that is what we've got covered for in this clip. So again, another long clip, but the level is coming together quite nicely. And I am hope you're all excited, looking forward to the final playthrough, because I am. Stay safe, guys. We will speak to you soon, and we will take care, basically. See you in a bit. Cheers. Bye.